Welcome to Domain and Range Notation. Let's get started. So the essential question we want to answer is, how do you write domain and range? Before we answer that, let's go ahead and review what domain and range actually is. So domain is going to be the set of all possible input values. They're also all of your x values, right? Your input are your x values. And we're going to read domain when we read it from a graph. We're going to read it from left to right, least to greatest. Okay, so just reviewing, if you had a data set, right, then your domain for this set of values would be all of the x's, 0, 1, 2, 3. Those would be your domain because these are the input values, they are x values. Whereas your range is the set of all possible output values, which are your y values. And you read them bottom to top, still least to greatest, but bottom to top. You read that off of a graph, from bottom to top, so if you need to put that in there. Because if you're looking at a set of data, your range, this is your output, this is your y value, so your range would be -3, 4, 2, and 9. But what I mean by reading them from bottom to top is if it's from a graph. Okay, so if you had a graph, then you read them that way. Okay, so just quick reminder, domain, input values, x values, range are the output values or the y values. There are 3 ways to write domain and range. We've got inequality notation, interval notation, and then we'll do set notation as the third one. So the first one, hopefully you're familiar with, inequality notation. It just uses inequality symbols. Okay, so that's how you'll tell it apart. It uses inequality symbols. Whereas interval notation is going to use brackets and parentheses. So inequality symbols, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, brackets, they look like this, and then parentheses. All right, so let's look at, I'm going to take this number line here as to use as an example for the notations. See if this is the x line, and we have -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're just using this as an example. So let's say I go ahead and draw something like this. So a closed circle on the 1, and then an open circle on the -2, and it's connected through this line. Okay, so if we wanted to write the domain, and we'll get to the range, but for right now, if we wanted to write the domain of this number line right here, okay, we know that it starts at -2 and it goes to 1. Those are the x values included here in this line segment. So in order to write an inequality notation, we would write -2 is less than, x is less than or equal to 1. Okay, because it's on -2, but it's an open circle, so it's not equal to, and it includes all the numbers from -2 to 1, and then it actually includes 1 because it's a closed circle. All right? Whereas if you're writing in an interval notation, you're going to use the brackets and parentheses. So you'll use a parentheses for the -2 because it's not equal to -2. So -2 to 1. Right, so the equal to right here, right, we know that from the inequality symbols, that's represented in the brackets when you're using interval notation. All right, so -2 to 1, still telling us the same thing, but in inequality notation, we use our symbols, inequality symbols, so -2 is less than x is less than or equal to 1. In interval notation, you would say -2 to 1. And then the parentheses represents that it's not equal to, whereas a bracket represents that it's equal to. All right, so the third one is set notation. We're going to use the same number line as before for the other two notations that we'll use for this one. So set notation uses braces. Okay, it's going to use such that line, which we'll talk about what that means. Such that line, and then it's going to use inequality symbols. So it's pretty much basically the same as the inequality domain. It's just you're also going to have other stuff with it. So reading this again from -2 to 1, not equal to, we would write that our domain is, we have a brace, and we would say the set of all x's, that's what that means, such that -2 is less than x is less than or equal to 1. Close the brace. So let's say that again. Your domain for this number line, okay, for this segment on the number line, is the set of all x's, and then such that, that's what that line means, and then the way you read that -2 is less than x is less than or equal to 1. And then don't forget to close it. All right, so just using a quick example, and I'm going to draw a little graph here. If you had the graph of y equals x, which that's just a line that goes straight through the origin. Okay, if we wanted to find the domain and range, so remember again, we can read domain from the left. So coming from the left, which x values are represented on this line? Well, if you see with the arrow, it's going all the way to the left, so it's going to go all the way to -infinity. And this is going all the way to the right, so it's going to include all x values up to +infinity. So if we wanted to write that in our three notations, we have inequality, we have interval, and we have set. All right, so with inequality, we would say that it went from -infinity is less than x is less than infinity. We never equal infinity. You can't equal it, so you should never have equal to with that. The other thing you could write is the little all real number symbol. Okay, with the interval notation, remember that's brackets and the parentheses. Since they're not equal to, we use parentheses. And -infinity to +infinity. Again, you could also say all real numbers in this case. All right, so with set notation, okay, with set, remember you're going to go back, you're going to have the braces, you're going to have x such that, and then you're going to go back and use the inequality notation. So we'll say the set of all x's such that, and then you use this, or you could also use that in this case. So -infinity is less than x is less than infinity. Okay. All right, so one last example. Let's say we have the graph of y equals square root of x plus 2. I know we don't know what that looks like. I'm going to show you. So we've got -2, okay, and it curves like this. So it's going up slowly, and it's going to the right. There's nothing that exists over here. Okay, you don't have to know that. I'm just trying to get you to draw this graph for me. Okay, so say you see this, we should be able to read the domain and range. Right, the domain coming from the left, you don't see the graph exist at all until it hits -2. Okay. So the domain should be -2, and if you notice, the graph goes all the way towards +infinity. So you're going -2 to +infinity for the domain. And we're going to write that in the three. We're also going to do the range, because I haven't done the range yet. In the three different notations. So with inequality, right, we know, we said again, -2 to infinity, so we're going to write that -2 is less than or equal to, okay, because it's got that closed circle, it's actually on the -2, x, which is less than infinity. Okay, that means x is in between infinity and -2. It includes the -2, you don't equal to infinity. Right? Now with interval, we have -2 to infinity. Remember, you never equal infinity, but we are equaling to that -2. So if you have an equal to inequality symbol, you should have a bracket. If you don't have an equal to, you should have a parentheses. And then set. Remember, we'll refer back to inequality for this one. That would be x. Well, that's a terrible brace. And x, the set of all x's such that -2 is less than or equal to x is less than infinity. Okay, so with the range, again, using inequality, so if you look as you're coming up, remember you read from bottom to top, it's your y values. This graph doesn't exist until you hit 0, okay? And then as you keep going up infinity, it looks like it's really slow, but it's going up and it'll eventually hit all of the y values. So this one would be from 0 to infinity for your range. So we have 0 is less than or equal to y is less than infinity for inequality. You would write 0 to infinity for interval. Remember, equal to, bracket, not equal to, parentheses. And then set, you have your brace, the set of all x's such that 0 is less than or equal to y is less than infinity. Now just a quick reminder that when you have this infinity here, you don't really need it, because if you say that x is greater than or equal to -2, right, then that's really all you need, because if x is greater than or equal to -2, well, that means all numbers all the way up to infinity. So you could also leave this part off in this case, same as over here. You could just say all the numbers where y is greater than or equal to 0, well, that includes the infinity. Okay, so you don't have to really put this part here. So that means when you're over here, you could just, leave this off, leave the infinity off, and leave the infinity off here. You'll see it both ways, so you need to know that if I write x is greater than or -2, then it would be the same thing as if you use the entire notation for inequality. All right, don't forget to write your questions and do your summary. Thanks for watching. See you soon.